Hello everybody, this is Jason Jeffries here, making my first video by myself here, trying to get these articles out here by myself, go over this a little bit. Rex was busy, so I went ahead and shot the video myself, so bear with me. I'm new to all this and I'm using a new program to do it all, but this information I actually had to pay for the copyrights to use, so I'd like to get it out there. And we made a video of it, and apparently it got locked up on his computer, or can't access it, or something's going on with it. I haven't really figured that out yet, but Rex's recording that we made, we had apparently an issue with it, so here I am making the video. So there's 3 articles I'd like to go over, and they're all created by astrophysicists and geological scientists, and they were all submitted to the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. These are leaders in their field, and they do extensive research, base all their knowledge off of data, satellite data, they have access to everything they need to make an assumption, to make a guess, make a prediction, and study the solar system. Okay. So I'm going to start with this one. This one just came out when we shot the video. It was about 3.5, 4 days old. So it's, I'd just say, about a week old. July 15th is the draft version. So they're telling us that there's a 6-degree obliquity with our sun. And that means basically there is a tilt, a precession in the north. The north pole of the sun that would come out, which would be perpendicular to the ecliptic plane. So I can bring up the plane of the ecliptic real quick here, and give you an idea. And we'll just, I'm on the typo there, but this is pretty good pictures of it, I guess we could use. So we use this one. Just the flat plane would be the ecliptic. That is what the table, if you will, that all these things travel around on. I'll bring up one more program to demonstrate this. Actually, I have it downloaded, so just let me open this up real quick. So it's basically the plane that the planets all sit on and rotate around. It's the equator of the sun and its magnetic pole. Everything above it's, positive polarity, and everything below it's negative. So what I'll do is show you what I'm saying here. And this white lines, how they all start intersecting here, flat. Look, that's the plane of the ecliptic, okay? So this is the table. This is where all the planets go on. Anything above this is the northern side, and anything below it's the southern side, polarity-wise, and vice versa. Let me see if I can mute this music. There you go. So that's what we're talking about. So how they measure something in its basically obliquity to the sun and its ecliptic plane is they do a right angle right there, like this, from whatever the ecliptic plane is. And then they measure from that to where the actual magnetic north is and where the planet or the sun is rotating in a circle. So the equator goes down below. You see the plane of the equator, plane of the ecliptic. This is the reason why when our planet rotates around, anybody in the northern hemisphere couldn't see anything that's coming from the southern ecliptic from a very aggressive angle, basically. Anything below this plane of the equator is physically impossible to see from the northern hemisphere. As this rotates, that stays the same, and then it goes around. So there's only going to be certain times of the year when the northern hemisphere could even have access to seeing what we're talking about. And I'll go over that more in detail. but they've proven, these scientists have proven, that our sun has a 6 degree obliquity. And that means it's tilted 6 degrees just as our Earth is tilted around 24. All right, and the only way this could happen is when they're in the creation of the universe, in our solar system. There's two ways this can happen. That our sun has a binary or a trinary, and it's pulling it in correlation to the angle that it crosses and rotates in the center of gravity and much more other things, and basically started that way. Or there's another nebular theory, and it still has to do with a secondary star. Okay, so we're going to go and just read a little bit of this. And it says the axis rotation of the sun is offset by 6 degrees. In contrast to the planetary orbits, they realize the inclination of this it's about 6 degrees. So in different times of its cycle, the sun and its energies are going to be tilted towards another angle, and I'll get into this more. Right? And they realize that this could account. What could account for this is a binary star system, another solar system bouncing in between them. Okay, now, like I said, you can take it and read anything you see here, but everything that's purple are actually papers that are cited by other astrophysicists and geological scientists and everything. Every one of these purple things is a reference, and meaning that everything above it has been proven in these papers, and they're not just saying that. These are all scientific fact theory and just data. They have it. If you go look at the paper, you can read more and more. You'll see just like this. You'll see about 9 or 10 pages, maybe 20 pages, all of just data. All right. So they think that there's something huge in our solar system that at perihelion, that means the furthest part away from our sun, is at about 250 astronomical units, which is how far the Earth is from the sun. So it's 250 times the Earth-Sun distance away from the sun. Okay, this is the plane of the ecliptic. This is the orbit of planet 9. Now they can do this one or two ways, just as I'll show you with this. Okay, we can look at this, and let me add the comets and the dwarf stars, and well, let's just stick with these for now. All right, we see Ceres here. We see Ceres, and that's actually, it makes up 1/3 of the material of the asteroid belt. The other 2/3 is the rubble, and we believe that Earth also came from this, and a collision, and that's hence the plate tectonics that aren't present on any other planet. It shows that in a vacuum, and when this ginormous planet hit, it destroyed this planet we call Tiamat, which is now Ceres and Earth, destroyed them, split them, strew the lava and the magma out, and in a vacuum, any liquid forms a ball. Matter in itself turns into the densest ball it can form. So that's how we have the plate tectonics. It's like little balls of Play-Doh got pushed together, and they still have the seams. Nobody sat there and kneaded it all together. Only in the core, where the magnetic anomalies and everything happen like that. Okay, so at this time of year, we'd know that it's coming out of Sagittarius anyways. So, and that's what Sitchin said and everybody's saying. So at some point, we believe that this thing hit Ceres, came up from the south, hit Ceres, destroyed Ceres, and when it went back out on its descent, it pulled Ceres down, and as it got further away, Ceres got pulled back up into the gravity of the sun. It even correlates with, if you line it up, with Sagittarius perfectly. Sagittarius is in the background there. Ophiuchus, this is the 13th sign of the zodiac, the dragon that they tell you. Sagittarius is below the plane of the ecliptic. Most part. There's a star or two above, but for the most part. Now, if we look at Pluto and see that it has a highly elliptical orbit, doing the same thing that Ceres does. Tilts in, down, comes in, and goes back down. So there's another proof that that moon, this Pluto is probably a moon of Neptune, got captured on its in orbit and then recaptured by the sun as this thing pulled away back, and that's just how we know it. So if we do it like this is the way they're presenting it. Just say this is planet 9 here, this orbit. Just for pretend now. They present it like this, okay? It's very clever of them because all they have to do is basically spin the map like this, if you will. I don't know how to explain it, but you would just flip the map upside down in your perception. Keep going, you know, and then you're eventually going to get to the other side of this, and then the Earth's just going to be on the other side of the sun. So it's all a matter of perception, and they did that very, very nice. They actually showed the incline going up and over instead of down and towards Sagittarius, which I found very interesting because when you're talking about polarity in the solar system and these pictures and diagrams you can make of it, you can show them two ways. You could show them this way, or I could flip it 90 degrees and it'd still be the same way, because anybody standing on top of the Earth on the northern hemisphere, that is their north. And that's this energy vortex that when you flush the toilet and the drain goes down the same way, it's because you're looking at this energy this way. All of this rotates the same way. All right? Now, if you get up here and you look at it from underneath, I'm sorry, paused it. You look at it from underneath and you're on the southern hemisphere, it's going the opposite way. And it's not magic, okay? It's just the way that this is, and it's perception. You're standing on the other side of the globe. So this is how they did it. They flipped the image to show you from the southern hemisphere. They showed the southern hemisphere and orientated it with the top, which people's mind would think north is the top, but it's not. They're very clever. So this is how they did it. Let me pause this so I don't have space models running in the background, taking up computer usage. All right, and this is the precession of the sun. This is where the north should be, and this is the 6-degree tilt and where it is, and that tilt makes a circle. If you drive that thing out in a really far distance, it shows you the circle of the precession of the sun. So there's a wobble in our sun, and they admitted it to us just 5-6 days ago. Okay. This is the dynamical model. The orbits of the planets are treated as gravitational interacting rings, and all the planets except Planet 9 are assumed to have circular, mutually coplanar planes. And they're represented in the center, basically this wire in here, the inner orbit. They added all the data, and they can make them on fixed wires because we know the fixed orbits. We know how these orbits have been, and we can predict it. So they made basically a wire simulation, so it doesn't matter. And they're just really clever. They did this over the course of 4.5 billion years, and they show you, the test ring. But in this work, they show a planetary mass body that is 5 to 10 Earth masses, okay? They know that Planet 9, the inescapable consequence of the existence of Planet 9, as they state it, and they say this with 99.999.3% accuracy. They know with that much accuracy, they even state the number, 0.0007% would be the idea that this could be a cluster of objects that randomly happened. They ran some simulations on the world's smartest computer thousands and thousands of times. It could not get it to replicate. But if they added a planetary body that's size 5 to 10 masses of Earth and put it on this orbit, it solved the whole thing 99.999.3% of the time. So you think about that. And then we're just going into how certain they are there. So they're showing you the orbit. You look into it, and they're giving you reference papers, and they're showing you a lot, basically. They use the perturbation theory, the Keplerian motion, and all these things that prove it, that we know how we found Neptune and all these other planets. We know it's been a proven fact, and we've done it before, okay? And when we found Sedna, and we realized we couldn't see Sedna with the naked eye, this and that, and it was there rotating around the Earth, and we just now found it, then they really started to make papers about this. Now, I'm showing this because, like I said, they feel they've proved without a shadow of a doubt Planet 9's existence and its orbital path. Not only that, they show why they cannot see it, the constraints of why we see it. There's a whole nother paper. I got 2 more papers to go over, and we'll go into it. But here's some of the math that they use. And you can check this all over yourself. Like I said, I've done it slow enough that anybody could read this paper and use it. This means 10 Earth masses. That symbol is Earth, and that's the mass 10. This is 15, that's 20. Okay, so when they ran the model at 20 Earth masses, it destroyed the Kuiper belt, and there would be no orbits of any Kuiper belt objects. So they know that's not what's going on. They did 15, and there was just an insufficient obliquity to the sun. But when they added a 10 times Earth mass object, it explained the 250. It explained every number perfectly, exactly, and showed the inclination of this planet in degrees. And that shows that it's between 22 and 29 degrees incline. Just as we said, the same one about, I told you about 23 degrees. So that gives you, right into my estimate is the perfect estimate. So yeah, they're backing this with numbers. I'm not an idiot. I'm not crazy. Okay. You look at all the numbers, and I know most of you guys, this is just Chinese to you, basically. But hey, here it's there. The references are there. The proof is there. Okay. You can't debunk all these scientists, and everybody asks where the astrophysicists, this and that are. You have to pay for their work. You can't, if you want to use it, discuss it on YouTube, you got to pay for it. And trolls aren't going to do that, okay? I'm going to do that because, you know, I care about getting this word out and educating people. I'm not making a single penny off any of this. This photo plot depicts same parameter space as in the figure. So it just shows you how 20 was too much, 15 was just did not account for the obliquity, but 10 made it perfect, okay? And different programs, different ways to look at it. Now these are all showed from different people. So the sun, they have their results, and they say the sun's present day inclination is 6 degrees from 90 degrees of the basically perpendicular of the plane. It's 6 degrees off of what it should be. Explained by our ecliptical plane as of now with the known bodies that we study. We accept the fact that its planet's non-perihelion distance is about 250. Okay, it's about 10 times the mass of the Earth, and they just show you way more data than most people could want. All right, I'm going to keep on going. It's saying that Planet 9 has merely modified the sun's spin axis by a significant amount. Okay? It's showing you this. No longer theory. Okay? Here's some charts showing you with the different, you know, the 15 Earth masses and so on, and how it works. Let me get down here. Well, yeah, they have a question. They want to know every plausible misalignment mechanism that they could think of. Planet 9 is the only one that makes sense. Planet X, Planet Nibiru. This thing that's been in our history for years, and it's been in the Bible. It's everywhere. Okay? And there's so much data out there that these scientists using their satellite data, this and that, even with the Masonic lodges and Illuminati and all this, covering up this information and doing what they can to keep it out of the public eye, there's still people out there that can figure it out. We can use the data. The age of the internet was the worst thing they ever did. They should have never given us access to the internet if they wanted to keep us stupid and in our shells. Okay, we're going to go down, go over a little bit of math here, show you. These are some of the Hamiltonian equations that prove what's going on here, and these are the pages of references. Okay, so what they're doing is they can say without a doubt Planet 9 and the sun do exist just as much as the sun exists. You know, Planet 9 is real. They're telling you this. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show this reference page one more time, and then I'm going to go to the next document. Okay. This one is an evidence for a gas giant planet in the solar system. This one's from February of this year. Another, you know, you have to pay $9 every time you want to use one of these or discuss it. And this is why you don't see these type of things. You'll see somebody copy somebody else's work that copied somebody else's work and read the abstract. Most people, anybody can get access to this. I had to make a library card. I had to pay money to get this information, okay? So they know who has the information. And now I'm putting it on the internet. so I'm sure that they'll just love me for this, but it's legal, so they can do what they want. The recent discovery of 2012 VP113, that is, I've showed you that before. It had, if you look in one of my previous videos, they had a Fox News discussion. This was all over everything, even mainstream news. But I showed you a photo on one of my solar system programs. Maybe I can't remember if it was the WISE scan or what, but it had a blue dot, a green dot, and a red dot. And we did that to kind of show blue shift type idea and show how this object moved. It's a blink test. So we got we've seen it moving over the course of 3 pictures there. And we discovered it in 2012. It's a planet, okay? It has a crazy orbit. Sedna is another body that we planted. But I'm going to just read this to you so you guys can understand. The recent analysis have shown that the distant orbits within the scattered disk population of the Kuiper belt exhibited unexpected clustering in their respective arguments of the perihelion. While several hypotheses have been put forward to explain this, to date, a theoretical model that can successfully account for the observations remains elusive. In this work, we showed that the orbits in the distant Kuiper belt objects cluster are not only an argument of the perihelion, are also in physical space. We demonstrate the perihelion positions in the orbital planes of the objects are tightly confined, and that which such a clustering has only a probability of 0.0007% due to chance. That means they can put it there, all these objects randomly throughout computer programs, and it would only happen 0.00007% of the time. And that is due to them not entering the rest of the data that they would need to, like the really complex algorithms that have to do with gravity and Keplerian motions and Hamiltonian physics and all these things that they just didn't want to do for hypotheses. If they can get it this narrow, showing that it's 99.99.3 or 99.993% chance of positivity that it is a planetary body that's 5 to 10 Earth masses, and it's not a grouping or a chance cluster. Okay? 10 Earth masses, it tells us here, whose lies in the same plane as those in the Kuiper belt objects, which we know go around the Earth in almost like a sphere. So, and they actually, a lot of them travel in 180 degrees up around perpendicular to like the asteroid belt, if you will, in the plane of the ecliptic. So when we go in this view of it, it would be over top, basically. It would go up and around instead of what they're saying. It's what they're trying to explain here. As we all know, we look at the data, look, there's Eris. These are all planets. Every one of these red things are planets in our inner solar system that you probably have no idea about. But when you do even Immanuel Velikovsky wrote about this object all those years ago. Einstein's best friend wrote about this. Smacking into Jupiter, knocking the core out, ejecting the core out, the core being Venus, the morning star they talk about in the Bible, the one that gives humanity such a fear of comets and things going across the sky. He said that it would have a tail, the surface would be impeccable, it would be very hot, it'd have a perfect orbit, which it does, and it always faces the same face towards the Earth when it is closest to the Earth in that orbit. It's the only one that has a near perfect 360-degree orbit. The surface of it is impeccable, and that object actually colliding with Mars would account for 100% of all the damage on the surface of Mars, basically, what we see today. It would account for the zircon being on the surface of Mars, meaning that Mars had deep oceans, because zircon only forms in the deepest of oceans. We only have a little bit here on Earth, because it goes through a process of gravity pushing down on the water so much that if you add carbon monoxide to it, you get basically from this vibration, you get what comes out to be carbonic acid, basically, and it starts eating at the lattice of the work, and when of the rock, which is, the bedrock, the basalt, whatever you want to look at it as. And as it ate through this, it can get down to the lava, right? And when it releases that intense heat and all that, if it doesn't have the pressure to hold it down, hydrogen and oxygen are very explosive. So when it has all that pressure holding it down, it goes through a new chemical process, which creates zircon, which is the oldest elemental rock on the Earth. and there's only a little bit, but it covers the whole surface of Mars. And it explains how the water ended up here when this thing came through. Right? This shows they're basically giving you a nice introduction. The perihelion lies precisely at the ecliptic, saying that the distant place that's where it crosses, it could be 1,800 years over, 1,800 years under the sun type of thing, or it could be considering that from their angle, from their plane of the ecliptic, which would be the middle of their solar system, their whatever their orbit is, and not ours. Okay? So there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of thinking. But they just show you the math and the different papers, what the papers to look up, and just go into about this clustering and just the orbits of the planets that we know and how there's something tugging on them. This huge thing about 10 Earth masses out there, and it shows you. And it has to be inclined very, very steeply, okay? Just like I said, why we couldn't see it, all right? And I'll get into that more. I know you guys always ask me why. I don't buy that you have to be above so many feet or have an infrared telescope or you can't see it from the northern hemisphere or this and that. Well, I just showed you how and why, because it's just out of your line of sight until the right time of year or until it's close enough, okay? There's a reason why you can't see certain objects with your naked eye or a camera or anything. There's a reason they're chemtrail in the skies, okay? Every one of those chemicals that we're finding reflects a different wavelength of radiation. Think about that. Strontium, aluminum, barium, every one of them. So they're showing you these are orbits of known objects in our solar system that don't follow the traditional path. Okay? And they're showing you a galactic plane, and it was how they're things showing that in the physical space there is mass, there's something tugging on it and pulling at things. They're just giving you proof and data and certain points. If you want to read into this more, go ahead. Like I said, pause it, read it. I'll be nice here, and if you don't understand any words, just go ahead and Google them. They'll pop right up. They'll give you a new understanding. A lot of astronomy and physicist terms are actually different from how we would know them or use them in real life. So you gotta look them up sometimes. There you go. There's that number, and they show that low percent of it not being Planet 9. That's why they're so sure. Okay. And this is why they call it Planet 9 also, right? They don't want it known as Nibiru, Planet X, Planet 7X, anything like that. You can't search that to find it. They want it to be called Planet 9. That's a very deceiving way to do it, because Jupiter or Pluto used to be Planet 9. There's all kinds of ways to call it Planet 9, so they're very smart when they're doing this, okay? I'm showing more math, showing you more charts and orbital places. Basically, these, just if you go ahead and read this, it'll show you a lot of it, and that's, like I said, showing you the difference between 10 Earth masses and different inclinations and how far away the perihelion is. So when they do this, it only works at 250 perihelion. It starts starting to show. And if you go too far, it just starts being too much. So they know that it's about, perihelion distance is about 250 astronomical units. So 250 times the Earth's sun distance. Some more charts showing you clustering and secular dynamics and gravitational pulls, things like that. I'll go ahead and freeze on that for one more second here. All right, now synthetic scattered disk. All right, that's another part of this, what they're talking about, this scattered disk of objects and random processes that they can do. But they realized that we have an inclined perturber, something that comes in from an inclined orbit from Mars. Okay, they proved this with papers in science. Okay, they do the math. If you want to read it, get into how, why, and then that, because people always troll you and ask this and that. Well, here it is. Okay. KBO's Kuiper belt objects, by the way. The orbital alignment within the scattered disk population of the Kuiper belt remains largely unexplained. Accordingly, the primary purpose of this study has been to identify a physical mechanism that can generate and maintain the peculiar clustering of orbital elements in the remote outskirts of the solar system. Here we have proposed that the process of resonant coupling with a distant planetary mass companion can have the available data, and have outlined an observational test that can validate or refute her hypotheses. We began our analysis with a re-examination of available data. To this end, in addition to previously known grouping of the arguments of perihelion, we have identified an ancillary clustering in the longitude of the ascending node of the distant Kuiper belt objects. So what they're saying is they know where this thing's at. Right? The resonant perturbation mechanism proposed herein entails a series of unexpected consequences that successfully tie together a number of seemingly unrelated features of the distant Kuiper belt objects. In particular, long-term modulation of the scattered Kuiper belt objects' eccentricities provide a natural explanation for the existence of the so-called distant detached objects such as Sedna in 2012 EP113, which we know exist and we found, and you can look at with a satellite or satellite images or anything. So here's the references again, and we can go into the conclusion I believe they make. But what's going on here is, yeah, they know that it's a perturber. They know that this thing's huge, super Earth type, all right, planet that formed over the course of the solar system's lifetime, all right. And what you do is you just look at it. It's showing that it's probably an ice giant or gas giant. It probably has water. It has it's a super Earth is what they're calling it. Sounds like Anunnaki, huh? They had giant skeletons that had to take giant amounts of gravity. Think about that. Think about that. So what we did is we went ahead and I'm just going to share the papers, and yeah, like I said, I apologize if this isn't as good of a sorry about that, good of project. But let me go ahead and pause this.